Without saying hello to Ellie, I accepted the invitation from her school and attended the school event without her permission. However, at the venue, I saw her students surrounding a man called Professor Ellie's husband. She was smiling and looking at that man affectionately, but I was obviously her husband. Ellie's school was holding an event and she wanted to bring her family. The call to invite her came to met his was the first time. I thought it had been a long time since I went to Ellie's school, so I pushed the work on hand aside and agreed. Ellie works at a famous university in our city, she is a professor of chemistry there. When I arrived at the school gate, I called Ellie, but no one answered. I went according to the address in the text message. The event was held in a cherry blossom garden on campus that was not open to the public. Just as I arrived, I saw Ellie walking ahead. She looked very happy and anxious, speeding up her pace to go inside. She didn't notice me at all, so I quickened my pace to catch up with her. 10 seconds later, I heard someone complaining, "Oh, Professor. Mr. Victor has been here for a long time. Why did you come just now? Professor, are you lost? Mr. Victor has been waiting so long he almost thought he had come to the wrong place. That's right, Professor Eliuri, such an incompetent wife. Why did you leave your husband here waiting alone?" I followed behind Ellie and saw a group of students and teachers yelling playfully at her, "But I am Ellie's husband. Didn't I just arrive? What were they talking about?" Following the noise and excitement, I saw Nathan, surrounded by the crowd, flour on his face, smiling gently at Ellie. Oh, he was Ellie's adopted brother. I only found out after marrying her that she had an adopted brother, but hadn't he been sent abroad by Ellie's mother a few years ago? Now he was back and somehow, in everyone's eyes, he had become Ellie's husband. I was confused and wondered if these people had made a mistake. At that moment, a few bold male students came over, pulled Ellie, and said, "Professor, come here quickly and make snacks with your husband." Pulled by the students, she smiled and sat down next to Nathan. I continued walking forward but was stopped by a male teacher. "Hello, which teacher's family member are you?" he asked. I looked at him, then at Ellie. At this point, Ellie looked over and our eyes met. She froze. The tenderness and joy she had shown when looking at Nathan turned into panic, then quickly shifted to coldness and irritation. Nathan also followed her gaze and looked over. The moment he saw me, his smiling face collapsed, just like Ellie's. He suddenly stood up and said, "I'm sorry, you guys carry on. I have something to do, so I'll leave first." Without waiting for a response, he grabbed his bag and ran off. As he passed by me, he almost bumped into me. Everyone stared, confused, turning to Ellie. "Professor, what's wrong with Mr. Victor?" Ellie forced a smile and said, "Oh, don't worry about him. He probably had something urgent." The male teacher turned back to me. "Excuse me, which teacher's family member are you?" I looked at Ellie. She hurried over and said, "I'm sorry, Teacher Lee. He is my family member." Teacher Lee asked, "Oh. Is he your brother?" Ellie glanced at me and nodded guiltily. Yes, he's my brother." She then pulled me aside and asked, "Why are you here?" I pushed her hand away and said, "Why can't I come today? No, if you were coming, you should have told me in advance." I shook the phone in my hand. "I called you several times. You didn't answer." Ellie froze and pulled out her phone. I looked at her quietly, not wanting to say anything. At that moment, a teacher hurried in and said to Ellie, "Professor Ellie, I just saw your husband run out crying. He fell near the artificial lake. It looked serious. You should go check." Pa's phone slipped from Ellie's hand. "Brian, Nathan is in a bad mood. Wait for me, I'll come back and explain everything," she said, then picked up her phone and ran off. The male teacher in charge of reception noticed I was at a loss and invited me, "Why don't you join us at the party?" I shook my head. "No, I have something else to do," I replied, and turned to leave. Then I added, "By the way, I'm not Ellie's brother, I am her husband." Without looking back, I walked away. After leaving the venue, I went to the artificial lake. From a distance, I saw Nathan sitting on the ground, crying into Ellie's arms and gasping. "Sister, why? Why did you marry him instead of me? How am I inferior to him?" Hearing Nathan's words, I stopped abruptly, staring at him in disbelief. Ellie had her back to me, gently patting Nathan. Her voice was soft and helpless. "Nathan, stop it. Things aren't what you think." Nathan's eyes swept past Ellie and landed on me, filled with hatred and resentment. "So what's going on, Ellie? Won't you give me an explanation?" I asked. Ellie turned around sharply. "Brian, why are you here? Shouldn't I be?" I tried to keep my voice calm, but the slight tremble at the end betrayed my emotions. "Can you explain what's going on? Why did you bring him and pretend to be a couple in front of your colleagues?" Hearing that, Nathan cried even harder and buried his face deeper in Ellie's arms, as if I were the villain. "Brian, don't get excited. Things aren't what you saw. We're just siblings. Nathan has always relied on me since we were kids. Maybe some of his thoughts are a bit extreme. I don't want to be siblings with you, Ellie, I don't want to." Nathan suddenly broke down and shouted through his tears. Ellie patted his back. "Nathan, stop it. That's enough." But Nathan raised his head, eyes red. "Sister, you don't love him, right? Tell him you only married him because it was suitable. You never loved him, right?" Bang! Ellie slapped Nathan, but her trembling hand betrayed her panic. "Nathan, what are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense," she scolded. Nathan sneered, suddenly stood up, and shoved me hard. The move was too fast. I was unprepared and fell to the ground. My arm struck a sharp stone, blood began to drip down. The piercing pain hit instantly. Just then, several teachers hurried over. Before everyone could react, Nathan suddenly cried and yelled, pointing at me and scolding me viciously, "Third party. You are the third party who destroys other people's feelings." After he finished speaking, he became emotional instantly, tears burst out of his eyes, and he pinched his neck with both hands, gasping for breath as if he couldn't breathe. "Nathan, Nathan, what's wrong with you? Don't scare your sister." Ellie didn't even look at me lying on the ground but stepped forward and hugged Nathan. Everyone was shocked. Before they could react, Nathan suddenly pushed Ellie away, turned around, and jumped into the artificial lake, splashing a lot of water. "Nathan!" Ellie exclaimed and jumped into the lake without hesitation. My mind went blank, but I felt pain all over my body. "Hurry up and save him." The teachers on the shore were in a hurry to contact school security and emergency personnel. Someone pulled me up and tried to help treat my wounds, but my eyes were fixed on the lake, my heart filled with mixed feelings. After a while, Ellie dragged Nathan ashore with great effort. Nathan was trembling and coughing non-stop. Ellie didn't care that she was soaked, she hurried to check his condition, her eyes full of anxiety and concern. "Sorry, I have to take him to the hospital first." After saying that, she picked up Nathan and left in a hurry, leaving me standing alone by the lake, surrounded by people pointing and whispering. Later, I rejected the male teacher's kindness and went to the hospital alone to treat my wounds. Of course, it was no surprise that I ran into Ellie, who was soaked and a mess. "Doctor, how is he? Is he okay?" Ellie looked at the man lying in the hospital bed. Nathan pulled the nurse and asked anxiously. The nurse comforted her and said the patient was fine, just a little frightened. Ellie breathed a sigh of relief but turned around and saw me. She walked toward me, saying, "I'm sorry, Nathan suddenly fell ill and I have to take care of him." "What about me?" I looked at her. "I was pushed down and injured by him, and you left me there alone." "I'm sorry, Brian. Nathan is a patient. I apologize for offending you. He was too emotional, and I didn't expect things to turn out like this." "So, you let him call himself your husband, let him accuse me of being the third party, and just left me to take care of him?" I couldn't help but raise my voice, realizing I was shaking uncontrollably. Ellie frowned. "Brian, don't be so aggressive. Nathan has been insecure since he was a child and has some mental problems. I can't just ignore him. What about me? I'm your husband. Have you ever thought about my feelings? At this time, Ellie's cell phone rang suddenly. She looked at it, and her face became solemn. After hesitating for a moment, she answered, "Hello, Dad." I didn't know what was said on the other end, but Ellie's brows furrowed deeply. Then she said, "Dad, can you please stop caring about it?" She hung up angrily. "I'm sorry, Brian, I have something else to do. Can you go home first? I'll explain everything to you." Okay, I nodded and agreed, not because I was obedient, but because I had more important things to do. Hearing that, Ellie was relieved. "Brian, thank you for understanding. Let's talk when we get home tonight." After that, she walked away toward Nathan without looking back. Later, I bandaged my wound myself and went home alone. When I got home, I saw my father-in-law, who rarely visited, had come to the house. The table was filled with local specialties, half my favorites, half Ellie's. Ellie and I met through her father's matchmaking, so he had always been nice to me. "Oh, Brian's back," he said, poking his head out of the kitchen. "Where's Ellie? Why didn't she come with you?" I didn't know whether he knew Ellie was in the hospital, but I answered truthfully, "She's at the hospital, accompanying Nathan." The plate in his hand fell and shattered. "This evil creature," he trembled and muttered. "I'm sorry, my hand slipped. I'll clean it up." He squatted down to pick up the pieces, clearly absent-minded, and cut his finger. "Dad, let me clean it up," I said, dragging one arm toward the bathroom to get a broom. No, I can do it." "You're still injured," he said, hurrying to the bathroom instead. After coming out, he asked, "Look at me, I am unreliable." "Brian, how did your arm get injured?" I didn't hide anything and told him everything that had happened. I saw his hands shaking, but he held back his emotions and said, "This evil creature, I'll take care of her when I get back." I nodded and went to the bedroom. After a while, I heard him on the phone with Ellie in the kitchen. He has poor hearing, so he uses an old cell phone with the volume turned up loud. Through a door, I heard him roaring, "Is that Nathan? That vixen came back to seduce you again? Didn't you break up with him? What's going on now?" Ellie replied impatiently, "Dad, can you stop saying that? Nathan just returned to China and something happened. He's in the hospital now." "I knew it was him," my father-in-law shouted. "That bad boy born to a bad man has been trouble since he was a child, always following you around. Now he's back, I don't know what mess he'll cause. Don't forget you're married. Your husband is the one who truly became part of this family." "Dad, can you please stop talking?" Ellie interrupted, irritated. "After all these years, why can't you let him go?" My father-in-law roared, "If I let him go, who will let me go? After all these years, your mother betrayed me and now you've betrayed me too. You and your mother are the same. I'm telling you, if you don't come back right now, I won't let Nathan go. Dad, Nathan is in a very bad mental state. He even jumped into the artificial lake. I can't ignore him." "He jumped into the lake?" my father-in-law sneered. "Did he jump, or did he push Brian down? I think he's pretending to be crazy. But you panic and run to him, leaving your husband behind. Is that decent? Dad, please don't make trouble, okay?" Ellie's voice grew colder. "I can handle the matter between Brian and me by myself. Don't worry about it." Then she hung up, ignoring his continued shouting. But soon, my phone rang. It was Ellie. I answered. Her tired voice came through the line, "Brian, I'm really tired now. Don't ask Dad to interfere in the matter between us. If you have anything, wait until I get back and talk about it, okay? Don't force me anymore. I force you." I smiled bitterly. "From just now until now, have you ever cared about me? Do you have this family and me in your heart?" Ellie was silent. After a long time, she whispered, "If you feel wronged, let's get a divorce. This is the first time that Ellie has said such words, but I heard seriousness and persistence in her tone, so I answered, yes, it's okay. I'll go to register the day after tomorrow, which is Monday. I can deal with other things during the 30-day divorce cooling-off period. There was a sudden silence on the other end of the phone. After a long time, Ellie hummed and hung up the phone. My father-in-law put the local specialties in the refrigerator, stewed soup for me, and asked me to come out to drink. Since the phone call with Ellie, he has been absent-minded, as if he had expected something. While I was drinking the soup, he said, "Brian, you promised Dad that you would live a good life with Ellie." I slowly took a sip of the soup. "Thank you, Dad. The soup is delicious, but life is not like drinking soup, you can't just swallow it in one gulp." My father-in-law understood what I said and did not persuade me anymore. He just sighed. After all, Ellie was ignorant. Later, my father-in-law talked a lot and told an old story about the love-hate entanglement between him, Ellie's mother, and Nathan's father. After hearing all this, I was stunned. It turned out that when Nathan was 13 years old, his gambling-addicted father died in a car accident and his father Victor's whereabouts were unknown. Because Ellie's mother and Victor were childhood sweethearts and had known each other since childhood, he was taken back to the Ellie family by Ellie's mother. His father-in-law took pity on him and adopted him as his own son. At that time, Ellie, who was 15 years old, was in her prime and enthusiastically took care of Nathan as his younger brother. But when Nathan was 18 years old, something unexpected happened. Victor, who had disappeared for many years, suddenly returned from abroad and got together with Ellie's mother. It was not until then that his father-in-law learned that Victor was not missing but was sent abroad by Ellie's mother to avoid the gambling debts left by Nathan's grandfather. Moreover, they had been in private contact for so many years. Ellie's mother even went abroad to hang out with Victor every year under the pretext of work. After learning the truth, his father-in-law became sick with anger. Later, after recovering from the illness, he made a scene and was determined to divorce Ellie's mother. The two went to court over the division of property. As for Nathan, he was not driven away by Ellie's father, but he followed his father abroad as soon as possible. After all, there is retribution. Ellie's mother wanted a divorce for Victor, but during the divorce, she and Victor died in a gas explosion while hanging out in the apartment. After the death of the two, Nathan was desperate and ran back to beg his father-in-law, but was kicked out. Nathan was unwilling and entangled with Ellie again. He confessed his love to Ellie frankly, saying that he had been with her for so many years and had fallen in love with her unknowingly. Even if Ellie clearly refused, he didn't care, always creating various encounters and frequently appearing in Ellie's life. Ellie was so obsessed that she secretly provided financial assistance to Nathan behind her father-in-law's back, completely ignoring her father's feelings and only caring about protecting Nathan. Later, my father-in-law directly threatened that if Ellie wanted Nathan, she would no longer want him as her father. Ellie finally compromised and sent Nathan abroad, but unexpectedly, Nathan came back again. After hearing this, I was left with absurdity and shock. These complicated and bloody plots were far more outrageous than I had imagined. After saying this, my father-in-law sat on the sofa, his hands folded on his knees, and spoke uncomfortably, his voice full of guilt. "Child, I'm sorry for you. All these years, I have been hiding these things in my heart. They are so heavy that I can't breathe, but I thought that the days would get better slowly, so I kept it a secret from you." He paused, tears welling up in his eyes. I originally wanted Ellie to completely cut off contact with Nathan, but that guy was like a shadow that could not be shaken off, clinging to Ellie. Before I met you, I really thought that there was no possibility for her and Nathan, so I brought you together. I really didn't expect it. I'm sorry, Brian. It's me who hurt you. If I had known that you and Ellie would end up like this, I really shouldn't have dragged you into this mess. When I heard my father-in-law's words, I felt dizzy and my body shook uncontrollably. Ellie and I met in a hospital. My parents divorced and remarried when I was young, and I was brought up by my grandmother. So when my grandmother was sick, I came to the hospital to take care of her. At that time, my grandmother and Ellie's father lived in the same ward. It was a weekend when I first met Ellie. She was wearing a simple shirt and trousers, tall, with frameless glasses on her nose. She walked into the ward in a capable and neat manner. She first greeted her father softly, then nodded to me politely and said, "Hello, please take care of my father during this period." Her cold and gentle voice and unique temperament attracted me at once. Later, I became familiar with Ellie's father. He often praised me for taking care of my grandmother in detail. One day, he held my hand and asked with a smile, "Young man, do you have a partner?" I blushed and shook my head. His eyes lit up instantly, and he immediately said, "My daughter Ellie, you've met her. She's a university professor. She's very down to earth. How about I introduce you to her?" Hearing this, I felt a little nervous and happy. I already had a good impression of Ellie, and after learning that she was a university professor, this liking was mixed with a bit more respect. After all, I didn't do well in school, and I barely got into college. I had a hard time finding a job, and in the end I could only open a small bookstore. Compared with her, the gap was too big. Later, Ellie's father enthusiastically introduced us to each other, and we began to have more contact. But every time we met, Ellie was very polite, always keeping a distance from me, and was polite to the point of being cold. But I was still secretly happy and cherished the opportunity to get along with her. Maybe she couldn't persuade her father, or maybe she really felt that it didn't matter who she married. In the end, we got together. It was the last year of the mask period before the lockdown was completely lifted. Ellie said that the school had regulations that we couldn't hold a large wedding banquet during this period, so we just got the certificate and invited 2 good friends to a simple banquet. Life after marriage was dull as water. Ellie was still lukewarm. She used the excuse of separating life and work to never introduce me to her colleagues and students. Because I liked her, I never complained about these things. I just tried my best to take care of her and keep this small home in order. But now the filter is shattered. I really think that the old saying is right, most of the loyal people are butchers, and most of the unfaithful people are scholars. Recalling every bit after marriage, the warmth and sweetness that I thought I had now shattered like bubbles, leaving only endless irony. I always thought that marrying Ellie was God's favor to me and the greatest blessing in my life. Who knew that this was actually an absurd abyss? It seems that Ellie married me just to perfunctorily satisfy her father. She is so hypocritical and disgusting. I don't know when my father-in-law left because I really don't know how to think about all this. The disgust and resentment in my chest reached the extreme until Ellie came back. It gushed out directly. When I saw Ellie come in and look at me, I covered my mouth and ran to the bathroom to vomit. It was so disgusting, so disgusting. How could there be such a disgusting and shameless person in this world? I held the toilet and vomited everywhere. At this moment, I suddenly realized that I would not part ways with Ellie in a good way. It would never be possible to part ways in a good way in this life. After I finally calmed down and came out of the bathroom, Ellie was waiting at the door as if she had something to say to me. The feeling of nausea spread to my throat again. I covered my mouth and ran back to the bathroom. Ellie seemed to have misunderstood something and ran over to ask, "Are you sick?" I interrupted her and said, "Shut up and get out of here. If it was you who made me so disgusted, fortunately, I didn't really have any serious illness. I was just simply disgusted by Ellie." After leaving the bathroom, Ellie looked at me solemnly for a long time before saying, "Don't say angry words. If you really feel uncomfortable, go see a doctor. I won't divorce you. Can you get out of here? I feel sick just by looking at you." That night, Ellie went back to her bedroom and I went straight to the second bedroom to sleep. The next morning, when I got up, Ellie was cooking porridge in the kitchen. When she saw me coming out, she said to me with a spoon, "I saw Dad bring your favorite ingredients yesterday, so I cooked porridge for you. Have some." I didn't even want to say a word to her. After packing up as quickly as possible, I went to a well-known law firm, but after consulting, I found out that Ellie and I didn't have much common property and there was no substantial evidence of her cheating. If we divorced, I would only get the portion of the property that I deserved. This was unfair to me, to my 3 years of relationship, and to the sincerity I had given. Because of this incident, I lost my trust in people and my understanding of love. Why did she get out so easily and leave me alone to waste my energy? I couldn't be magnanimous and understanding, nor could I part ways amicably. I was born stubborn and had a clear sense of gratitude and resentment. After leaving the law firm, I first contacted a private detective, went to the hospital for an injury assessment, and then went to Ellie's office. Ellie's university asked the security guard for the video of Nathan pushing me yesterday and then called the police. In the police station, I met Nathan and Ellie who came with him. At this moment, Nathan's eyes were red. After seeing me, he shrank and hid behind Ellie. I didn't care at all and only asked the police officer to detain him administratively. Ellie frowned and said to me, "Brian, it's just a little dispute. Do you have to go to the police station?" I raised my bandaged arm and said, "Yes." "It didn't hurt you, so your words are like farts." After that, I completely ignored her and handed the injury assessment and video to the police officer. I do not accept reconciliation. Please help me deal with it. Nathan suddenly sobbed, "Sister Ellie, I really didn't mean it. I was just too excited at the time." Ellie patted him and said, "It's okay, don't be afraid, I'll handle it." Nathan leaned in Ellie's arms and glared at me fiercely. At this time, the police read all the information and said, according to the existing evidence, Mr. Nathan's behavior of pushing people and causing injuries is established. According to the Public Security Administration punishment law, administrative detention is required. As for the issue of compensation, the two parties can negotiate. If the negotiation fails, the victim can file a civil lawsuit with the court. Hearing that he was going to be detained, Nathan panicked and desperately pulled Ellie with fear in his eyes. Ellie also looked at me and said, "Brian, let's solve the matter between you and me privately. Don't make things difficult for Nathan, okay?" I shook my head directly and said, "No." Seeing my firm attitude, Nathan shouted at me viciously, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Sister Ellie and I would have been together a long time ago, and we would be very happy. You are just a third party who destroys other people's feelings." I was so amused that I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "It was obviously you who interfered in my marriage with Ellie, but you even turned black and white. People like you who know the truth are really hopeless. Remember, this is just the beginning of the lesson. I will always make you two dogs pay the price." Ellie frowned and wanted to say something to me angrily, but I took a step ahead of her and said coldly, "You bastard, you openly brought your adopted brother to attend activities at school. You even introduced him as your husband in front of everyone. Aren't you disgusting? Fake orthopedics is also considered orthopedics, you idiot." "Brian, what are you talking about?" Ellie was so angry that she was shaking. "Of course, she was scolding you. You only took up 2 of the 4 words, beast in human clothing. After that, I said to the police officer again, "Excuse me, officer. I will never reconcile with the third party who bullied me. You can handle it." The police officers have seen the world and nodded immediately. "Okay, we know." Later, Nathan was detained for 3 days and fined 500 yuan. Although there was not much damage, I felt relieved. After leaving the police station, Ellie caught up with me, "Brian, why do you have to do this? If you don't want to divorce me, then we won't divorce. Can you stop making trouble?" I stopped and slapped Ellie in the face. "If we don't divorce, do I have to keep you? Are you disgusted to the point of vomiting every day?" After that, I left without looking back. I prepared information outside for a whole day. On Monday I didn't go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with Ellie but went directly to her university. I also did a live broadcast on the way. Although I own a bookstore, I have gained 20,000 to 30,000 fans because of my live broadcasts of book sharing. Although the number is not large, it is enough for me to cause trouble. Along the way, I talked about Ellie and Nathan in the live broadcast room. After everyone learned about the cause and effect of the matter, they were indignant and cursed. When they learned that I was going to the university to hold them accountable, everyone applauded and waited eagerly for the follow-up. Soon, my live broadcast room was instantly flooded with hundreds of thousands of people watching online. Most of them were supporting me. Come on, brother, expose her. Don't let yourself be wronged. Take a step back. Prostate hyperplasia, bear with it. Testicular cysts, just one word, oh it. Some people advised me, forget it, brother, bear with it and it will be over. Making trouble in public will have a bad influence and you'll lose face. Don't go. There's no need to make such an ugly scene in emotional matters. Leave some dignity for each other. Reply to the above, why didn't the scumbag cheat on her brother and raise him? Save face and dignity for your husband, but now she wants her husband to save dignity for her. Are you two cheap things? The two sides started to curse at each other, and several replies were deleted. Of course, there were also neutral people who said, no matter what decision you make, remember to protect yourself and don't let your emotions control you. I'm typing now. Yeah, thank you all for your concern. After arriving at Ellie University, I first went to Ellie's office area and directly questioned the director of the Academic Affairs office loudly, why don't you verify the family information of faculty and staff when organizing events? You let a teacher bring a third party to participate. Was this the school's mistake or a tradition? Why did everyone have to call the third party Mr. Victor? Where did that leave me, the legitimate husband? My voice was so loud that it attracted many students to gather around. The director of the Academic Affairs office wanted to find someone to drag me out, but I held up my phone and said, I'm live streaming. Dare to touch me and try. Later, a male teacher came to persuade me. I recognized him as the one who received family members that day and also the one who offered to help send me to the hospital. Under his mediation, I stopped making a scene, but I demanded that the school make a clear decision and give me an explanation. The director couldn't handle it, so he called Ellie with a dark face. Ellie rushed over in a panic, sweat pouring down her face, her hair stuck to her skin. She looked extremely embarrassed. When she saw me holding my phone and streaming live, her eyes were full of disbelief, as if she couldn't believe I had come to this point. She stepped forward and reached for my arm, saying, Brian, if you have anything to say, let's go home and talk. Don't make a fuss here, okay? I struggled and pulled my arm away. Why go home to talk? Make it clear right here. You brought your adopted brother to the event and asked others to call him your husband, but told your colleagues that I was your brother. What do you mean by that? You want to fake incestuous love and didn't say it earlier? Why drag an innocent man like me into this? The netizens in the live room exploded instantly, with the screen full of accusations and insults aimed at Ellie. At that moment, someone in the chat left a message. I recognized her. She was Professor Ellie from our school. I once saw her holding a man's hand on campus. When we called that man Mr. Victor, she didn't correct us. But that man wasn't her husband at all. Thinking about it now, it's truly disgusting. As soon as that message appeared, more people started echoing it. The students watching the stream nearby noticed too. They had just been curious, but now their looks toward Ellie were full of contempt, and the whispering became louder. How could there be such a teacher? She has no ethics. I used to think she taught well. I was so wrong. Ellie's face flushed red from the murmurs. She reached out again, trying to pull me back. Brian, please, if you have something to say, let's talk at home. What good does it do to make a fuss here? I slapped her hand away and turned to the camera. Everyone, she still wants to keep this quiet and evade responsibility. I came here today to demand an explanation. The school must address this. Her actions can't be brushed aside. The director's face was dark as coal. The male teacher kept trying to ease the atmosphere, urging Ellie to resolve the matter. Calm down first, let's sit down and talk it out. There's always a solution. But by then I had made up my mind. I won't leave unless I get a satisfactory explanation today. Ellie stood there with a complicated expression: anger, shame, and helplessness all mixed in. Suddenly, Ellie clenched her fists, veins bulging on her forehead. Brian, what you're doing now is just revenge. You used to be kind and gentle, but now you're like a madman bent on vengeance, doing whatever it takes. I laughed bitterly. A revenge madman? Ellie, you still don't understand what you did wrong. It was your selfishness and greed that buried the kind version of me. All I've done is protect my dignity and rights. What exactly did I do wrong? After a pause, Ellie finally said, "There's nothing between Nathan and me. He's just sick and in a bad mood. I was only taking care of him." Oh. While taking care of him, you kissed. Then I took out a few photos I had a private detective take and threw them on the table. They showed Ellie pressing the back of Nathan's head while the two kissed passionately. Absolutely disgusting. I almost vomited. I finally understood that a scumbag never admits her mistakes, they only make excuses until evidence is right in their face. Thank goodness I got the proof ahead of time. Otherwise, I'd have suffered in silence. The barrage of comments flew by so fast, and I'm not sure who reported it, but the stream got shut down. I simply put away my phone and said to Ellie, "Let's file for divorce immediately. Otherwise, I'll feel sick." 2 months later, I successfully received the divorce certificate. I won't go into the details of the process, but I didn't lose out, got more house, car, and money than before. As for Nathan, ever since getting out of detention, he's been more stable. He still curses me daily, but at least he doesn't dare to hit me anymore. Ellie was forced to drop out of school because of all this. Even her father doesn't want her anymore, they cut ties. He said long ago she chose Nathan and didn't want him. Now that Ellie had chosen Nathan, he naturally didn't want this daughter either. Later, I heard that Ellie and Nathan had a lot of conflicts and broke up. Ellie wanted to order Nathan not to bother her, but Nathan didn't listen and even got Ellie drunk and got her pregnant with her child. Later, they got married out of helplessness, but they didn't have a wedding ceremony or a banquet, they just got a certificate. Later, I met my current wife, Ms. Lynn, a female president who often asked me to deliver books upstairs, who always had a stern face and sharp tongue. We got to know each other through fighting, and our relationship had some twists and turns and dog blood. I won't go into details. Anyway, in the end, she would stick to me every day after work, sometimes noisy, and sometimes like a big wolfhound. Later, when I accompanied her to the prenatal checkup, we ran into Ellie and Nathan in the hospital. The once well-dressed Ellie had long been worn down by life and became sloppy. Nathan was jumping up and down, and he seemed to be arguing with her about something. I heard Nathan say, "If you hadn't been irresponsible when you were pregnant with her and drank so much alcohol, would the child be mentally impaired?" Ellie also shouted, "Can I be blamed for this? It's all because of you. You are incompetent, but you still get entangled with others. Don't think I don't know that after the divorce, you often peeked at Brian's photos and shouted his name when you were drunk. Tell me, do you still love him?" Hearing this, Jenny beside me was unhappy again and her hair stood up. Why is this idiot so haunting? But at this moment, Nathan saw me with his sharp eyes. "Brian, why are you here?" I hadn't said anything yet. Jenny beside me said viciously, "If you curse my husband again, I will tear your mouth apart." Nathan was scared and cried, and slapped Ellie. "Ellie, are you still a human being? Your husband was scolded by others, and you didn't even say a word. Do you have any responsibility?" Ellie ignored her and kept staring at me, then looked at me, looked at my wife, and also looked at my wife's belly. After a long time, she said congratulations, then turned around and left with the child in her arms. Jenny beside me spoke up, "Why did she run away?" I was going to punch her. I punched her first. "What do you want to do? Are you trying to cause trouble?" No, my husband is here, how dare I?" On the way back, I looked out the window. Everything in the past flashed through my mind like a movie clip. I suddenly remembered a sentence: "What kind of life is it if you don't experience some bad things? As long as it doesn't kill you, you can restart your life at any time." Matters in love are like drinking water, you know whether it is hot or cold, but you must keep a clear head, always love yourself, and always keep your passion.